Hello, dear friends. I had another mystery topic prepared, but today's important financial news had made me change direction. What is happening right now is very strong, and there is no need to look for it in alternative sources, since the facts are public. This situation is exciting for any journalist and for everyone. Opinion piece. Signs of systemic collapse. Markets fall and fear rises. Warren Buffett warns on inflation. Gold and silver down overnight. Commodity prices rise. Cryptocurrency plunge on Sunday. Wave of cyber attacks worldwide. Cyber attack in Belgium affects 200 institutions. Another cyber attack affected the Canary Islands, Spain. Electoral earthquake could spread in Madrid. Spain would have a political turnaround if elections were to take place. Germany calls for a global restart against this crisis. Banks begin to worry about inflation. Goods cannot be shipped in some cases. Most visible of all is widespread hyperinflation. Global food shortages are also emerging. Demand for gold continues to rise in China and India. The new quantum financial system is based on ISO 20022. Only currencies that comply with this regulation will survive. US birth rate falls to a 50-year low. Federal judge strikes down moratorium on tenant evictions. Upcoming NATO artillery exercises in Europe and Africa. US general warns of international instability. US Space Command tracks out of control Chinese rocket. Experts advise saving 10% of each worker's salary. Let's start. Signs of a systemic collapse are appearing in many news stories that we cannot ignore. Most visible is the emerging hyperinflation and the sharp drop in the markets. We are facing the biggest economic bubble in history. There is a stock market bubble, a real estate bubble, and a financial bond super bubble. Biden's tax hikes seem to be one explanation for this crisis. The increase on corporate income from 21 to 28% put businessmen and legislators on alert and opposed the measure, as it would put US companies at a disadvantage. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen triggered declines on Wall Street after stating that rates would have to rise. Although she later qualified her words, the damage had already been done. But the baby boom generation has also played a role. They are behind the fall in technology stocks, according to Mario Becerra. On a political level, the electoral earthquake in the Madrid community could spread to the whole nation. Spain would suffer a major political upheaval if elections were held at the national level, as the right wing would achieve a comfortable absolute majority, according to Rafael, although I am not in favor of any political party in the system that supports the loss of constitutional rights. Inflation. Warren Buffett warns about inflation. After running at an annual rate of 1.4% in January and 1.7% in February, inflation shot up to 2.6% in March, prompting some experts to sound the alarm about rising prices. We are seeing substantial inflation, Warren Buffett told attendees at Berkshire Hathaway's annual shareholder meeting last week. We are raising prices. People are raising prices on us, and it's being accepted. In quotes. Banks are starting to worry about rising inflation. We are on the verge of riding out a wave of rising prices not since the early 70s. 2 weeks ago, we noted that businesses are freaking out about higher costs. Sell-side analysts remained calm, and most comforted their clients by saying that any inflation we get would be transitory, supposedly. But as of this week, the analyst narrative has taken a sharp turn, starting with JP Morgan, which yesterday admitted that there are a growing number of articles illustrating rising inflation expectations. While we don't know if the coming hyperinflation will be transitory or not, one thing we are sure of: if prices really do enter their Zimbabwe phase, profit margins for the broader market would soon reach a negative record. Panic over inflation. According to the X2 report, the central bank is panicking over inflation. They are now signaling a rate hike. The big tax increase that most people will not see comes in the form of inflation. It is the hidden tax that is imposed on people. With energy, food, lumber, and many other prices going up, the people are going to feel the problem. Tuesday saw a massive sell-off in the market as stocks fell along with safe haven assets such as gold. A broad market correction would be just beginning, and safe haven assets could fall along with risk assets, commodities. According to the Daily Mail, the price of products we use every day are rising at their fastest pace in 3 years. Measures on inflation, or the prices of goods and services we all pay for, are rising much faster than economic experts like to see. Many signs of inflation have already here, with the prices of groceries, household goods, gas and electricity, for example, all rising over the past year. The average price of coffee is up nearly 8% compared to last year, while the price of bread is up 11% according to Bureau of Labor Statistics data. The prices of raw materials such as steel, wood and cotton, which are used to make everything, have also risen. Companies have already said they will pass on the highest cost to those raw materials to consumers. A global food shortage is also emerging, with rising prices and shortages of basic commodities. Supply chain experts say they have never seen anything like what is happening now, just now, because goods cannot be shipped in some cases, and also supply side inflation has gone up. It is advised saving 10% of each salary. As a general rule, financial experts advise saving at least 10% of each salary. This is related not only to the need to cover current expenses, but also to psychology. It is easier for a person to save 10% on a regular basis than 50% all at once. 64% of manufacturing companies plan to bring production back to North America after the Suez Canal logjam. The Suez Canal crisis, that came so quickly after the impact of the health crisis, underlines the reason of why as many as 64% of manufacturing companies plan to bring production back to North America. US. Federal judge strikes down moratorium on tenant evictions. A federal judge on Wednesday threw out the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's nationwide moratorium on evictions, dealing a setback to Americans hit financially by the crisis. US birth rate falls to lowest about 50 years. The US birth rate fell 4% last year, the largest annual decline in nearly 50 years, according to a government report released Wednesday. The rate fell for mothers and of all major races and ethnicities, dropping to the lowest point since they began tracking it more than a century ago. Births have been falling for younger women for years, as many delayed childbearing and had smaller families. Statistics indicate that the current generation does not have enough children to replace it as the population ages. Fewer and fewer children have been born in every state in the country for several years in a row, but in 2020 that number reached a 4-decade low. The number of births was down 4% from 2019. Top US general warns of potential international instability. The world may be entering an era of potential international instability with the rise of China and the advent of disruptive technologies such as artificial intelligence and robotics that could prove decisive for warfare, the top US general warned on Wednesday, but Reuters didn't disclose the general's name. Major Pentagon meeting. Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman General Mark A. Milley summoned the Pentagon's 7 other Joint Chiefs for an emergency meeting, according to a classified report. Cryptocurrencies. Ether cryptocurrency hits new record. The Ether digital cryptocurrency linked to the Ethereum blockchain reached the price of $3,456.57 on May 4th, achieving a 350% rally. Elon Musk triggers 14,000% Dogecoin rally. Elon Musk's name appears again behind the rises in the cryptocurrency market. If analysts had already focused their warnings about speculative excesses on the Dogecoin, the warnings are multiplied by the additional rises of 50% that it is registering today. Central Bank issued digital currencies coexisting with Bitcoin. Cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin and Ether will coexist for a time with more restrictive digital currencies such as that issued by China's central bank, according to Biden's chief executive. Precious metals. Gold and silver prices lower overnight. Gold and silver prices are lower in midday trading on Tuesday, following surprising comments from U.S. Treasury Secretary and former Federal Reserve Chair Janet Yellen, who said interest rates may need to rise. Gold and silver prices had hit 9-week hikes in early trading. Gold price pullback. Gold prices are weaker in early trading on Tuesday in a routine downward correction and some chart consolidation after decent gains posted on Monday, which provided bulls with fresh technical strength. Gold demand continues to rise in China and India. China and India rank second in global gold consumption, and during the first quarter of 2021, gold demand saw an impressive rebound in both countries. China's year-on-year gold consumption rose 93.9% as first quarter demand recovered to pre-health crisis levels. Meanwhile, India's official gold import hit a decade high in March, despite its health crisis. Definition. According to Wikipedia, an economic collapse is any of a wide range of bad economic conditions, ranging from a severe and prolonged depression with high bankruptcy rates and high unemployment, to a collapse in normal trade caused by hyperinflation, or even a sharp economic increase caused in the death rate and perhaps even a decline in population. Often, economic collapse is accompanied by social chaos, civil unrest, and the breakdown in law and order. In finance, systemic risk is the risk of collapse of an entire financial system or the entire market, as opposed to the risk associated with an individual entity, group, or component of a system, which may be contained without harming the entire system. It can be defined as financial system instability, potentially catastrophic, caused or aggravated by idiosyncratic events or conditions in financial intermediaries. It refers to the risks imposed by interconnections and interdependencies in a system or market, where the failure of a single entity or group of entities can cause a cascading failure, which could potentially ruin or bring down the entire system or market. Cyber attacks. The airline industry has been the target of sophisticated cyber attacks, with only 35% of air travel in operation. The National Infrastructure Security and Cybersecurity Agency confirmed a breach of 5 US agencies and other organizations with cyber attacks. There was also a massive cyber attack against the Illinois Attorney General. On the other hand, Reddit had a minor problem on Tuesday afternoon and went down for nearly an hour. Since Sunday, May 2nd, there have been major cyber attacks against automotive suppliers and manufacturers in Germany. Audi, BMW, Sambardana, Montherron, and Peguform. Insiders at the plants were not working due to the problems. The University of Berlin and Colchester were cyber-attacked on Tuesday, May 4th. In Spain, more than 40,000 telephone customers in the Canary Islands suffered a cyber-attack on Monday, May 3rd. Belgium suffers major cyber-attack. Serious attack with large-scale effects affecting some 200 government and other institutions. Belgium suffered a major cyber attack on Tuesday, Belgian media reported, affecting many of its key institutions. Its origin is still unknown. The Belnet Internet Network, which connects public institutions, higher education and university establishments, research centers, have been target of a large-scale denial of service attack since 12 p.m. Tuesday. Spokeswoman Davina Luiten said, "Such an attack occurs when a third party overloads servers by sending them a large amount of data." Separately, on Monday, May 3rd, hackers claimed they gained access to tens of thousands of SIM cards after a cyber attack on an Australian telecommunications company. Financial regulation. With the new quantum financial system, only currency that pass international regulation would remain. 99.5% of them would not survive when the server shut down under the Three Gorges Dam. Then there would be new elections using this technology all over the world. The newly elected governments would be 10% the size of what they are now. The standard called ISO 20022 is a regulation for the electronic exchange of data between financial institutions. It describes a metadata repository containing descriptions of messages and business processes and a maintenance process for their repository content. The standard covers financial information transferred between financial institutions, including payment transactions, securities trading and settlement information, credit and debit card transactions, and other financial information. ISO 20022 enables the electronic exchange and automation of data between organizations in the financial sector using a common language, with the aim of streamlining communication, reducing risk and avoiding significant losses. This standard covers financial information transferred between institutions, such as payment transactions, trading information, security settlement, or other financial data. It seeks to make operations more cost-effective to support specific business processes in order to facilitate the ability to exchange information with other existing protocols. It describes a way to generate and decrypt the messages that form the basis of electronic transactions, as well as providing industry developers with free access to a dictionary of trade component data and a process catalog containing messages templates. ISO 20022 is a global language for payment systems. It is used by more than 70 countries and in the coming years will be a primary standard for all reserve currencies, supporting 80% of global volumes and 87% of transaction value worldwide, as it facilitates the creation of new services and simplified end-to-end processing, as well as improving the structure of data in electronic messages and in commercial domains such as payments, securities, foreign exchange, and even credit cards. By creating a common language and model for standardizing information, ISO 20022 will significantly improve the quality of financial processes in the future. Europe. Miraculous recovery in Europe. Over the past few weeks, we have been constantly bombarded by news reports and expert analysis celebrating an incredible global economic recovery, as if a return to vibrant growth is already underway. The stock markets steadily seem to agree, going from record to record as political and institutional leaders congratulate themselves on a job supposedly well done. However, celebrating a recovery during a third round of total blockades, closed stores, travel bans and millions out of work seems cognitively dissonant at best. France, Italy, Germany and Austria launched a new round of business closures and heavily restricted social activities and freedom of movement. One could argue that the billions that were printed by the European Central Bank and the helicopter money dropped on member states achieved their goal and successfully rescued and restarted the economy. However, it is still hard to imagine how to inject any amount of cash into a forcibly frozen economy that cannot restart economic activity and revive productivity. You can pump all the fuel you want into your car, but if the engine is off, you probably won't get very far. Germany wants a global restart. A global restart is needed to fight future health crises, German Health Minister Jens Spahn told a briefing Wednesday. Upcoming artillery exercises in Europe. Upcoming artillery exercises in Europe are intended to send a message to deterrence to adversaries, General Christopher Norrie told reporters Tuesday. Fire Shock is a series of field artillery exercises taking place from May 5th to June 19th in Europe and Africa, in conjunction with exercise Defender Europe 21. Currently, many nations are moving their war machines into place under the guise of conducting exercises, just like the exercises that took place before 9/11, and it all has to happen according to a timeline that we ignore. US. Space Command tracks out of control Chinese rocket. White House spokesman Jen Psaki said Wednesday that Space Command is tracking China's Long March rocket. Track debuts new platform. He returns online with a virtual desktop that mimics his deleted Twitter account. Months after being banned by most social media giants, is now using a desktop on his campaign website to post content that resembled his trademark tweets. But he still doesn't have a way to interact. It is just his own one-way microphone for now. Major bands standing and dancing at weddings and receptions. Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser, a Democrat, has banned standing and dancing at both indoor and outdoor weddings as part of the city's new blackout rules. Security measures. On Monday, May 3rd, Washington, D.C. was again walled off with snipers posted on the rooftops of the Capitol, cars removed, police everywhere, and the White House abandoned. Soldiers were armed and protected the Capitol. Some Pentagon generals were forced to resign. When the change of system happens, it will be on all screens and media, but the negotiations are secret and nobody knows when it will happen. NASA asteroid simulation fails. Earth is defenseless against giant asteroids as NASA's simulation ends in ruin, The Independent reports. According to simulations run by major space agencies, Earth lacks the technology to avoid a massive asteroid. The week-long exercise conducted by NASA concluded that catastrophe would be inevitable, even with 6 months of preparation. The hypothetical impact scenario, which took place during a planetary defense meeting organized by the United Nations, showed that governments are woefully unprepared for such a disaster. Supposed disaster. A Scottish inventor paves roads made of plastic pellets to reduce global plastic waste crisis. A Scottish engineer, Toby McCartney, is doing his part to make a dent in that environment impact with his unique invention. His company, called McReber, uses plastic waste to literally pave roads, creating what he calls the world's first plastic roads. And that's all for today. Have a good week, dear friends.